So first of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for being so prompt and on time. I know it's hard with these back-to-back Zoom meetings. What we're going to try and do today is to really bring to life, I think, a little bit more background about the awards and why we do them and what really makes a good nomination, so that it's very transparent, it's very obvious, you know, how you can help your teams to create some fantastic nominations for those inspiring women that are in your company. I think yeah, everybody's muted, so that's good, just in case we do have doorbells ringing and knocks on the door. So I'm going to just start off by explaining a little bit about why I decided to launch the awards. I am going to ask a couple of our people on the call that have taken part in the awards to just explain how they think the positive impact has been, and I will call on Claire Wright as our sponsor to say a few words about why sponsor is and why it's a good thing. And also I think Sharon, if you'd be prepared to say a few words, Sharon Ashcroft, about the, if you like, the positive knock-on impact internally. And if Joe is available to not disturbed by the builders, to also say a little bit about what Marshalls did in terms of celebrating the women that, you know, weren't winners, but about how positive it was to just celebrate the fact that they were nominated. So I'll come to that a bit later. We're also going to talk about, so specifically the statements that are in the nomination form, so to kind of make those very transparent and what we look for. Run through the key dates with regards to the awards process. Nicola is going to talk a little bit about how we'd like you to promote it internally to get as many nominations as possible, but also promote externally that you're supporting this and that you think it's a good thing. And then there'll be time for questions at the end, hopefully. So I'm going to just outline why the Inspiring Automotive Women Awards. Well, those of you that know me know that I've worked in the retail side of the business and in the OEM side. And I decided to launch the awards to recognise the women that I'd worked with that had helped me, you know, those kind of women that had helped me in my career. And so, for example, a sales admin supervisor who showed me how to be firm with, in those days, a few slippery sales execs, it has to be said, service receptionist who taught me how to diffuse angry customers, how to handle people not being terribly polite, shall we say. And also the secretary of the chairman of Ford of Britain, who would wave me in to see him even though I didn't have an appointment, because she knew I'd got something really important and interesting for him to hear. And it's people like that who saw potential in me and wanted to help me succeed and help me climb the career ladder. And those are the kind of women that I call, in my book, I call them growers. They're the kind of women that help other women progress on through the career ladder and then turn around and help the next ones that come in and help push those without necessarily themselves wanting to progress or to get to the top of the sector. I've also met many women who, having reached those management rungs, have turned back and helped other women, and I call those lifters. You know, they are lifting as they rise. They lift other women along too. And now we're seeing more and more women breaking the ceiling and becoming the first women in certain roles. And we like to see those as pioneers and trailblazers. And they help to change the mindset that maybe exists about, well, only men do those jobs. You know, they're beginning to smash through that. Now, every woman that joins the sector really becomes what we call a real model. You know, not a role model, because that makes them sound perfect, but a real normal person doing a great job to young girls who can encourage them to join the sector and to put us on their career radar. And of course, women who progress up the ranks become real models for other women to follow in their footsteps. Now, it will help the industry tremendously if we shine a spotlight on these women and appreciate them and make them visible to other women, both in and beyond the sector. So that was one of the main reasons why I felt there are so many unsung heroes in the sector, the heroines, that we need to make more fuss of. You know, we need to celebrate this more. And so this became the idea behind the Inspiring Automotive Women Awards. So in addition to that, there are also women who go above and beyond the day job. So these are the kind of women that I remember would give up their lunch hours working in Ford to go and help the engineers to understand the voice of the female customer, and who led to things like seat height adjusts and adjusted seat belts being put into cars so that women could actually drive them more comfortably. Not paid to do that, just gave up their free time to enable Ford to design cars that would be more suitable for women. And there are others, you know, I'm sure you'll all recognise these women who organise induction programmes, do the catering for customer open days, make sure that the children's play area is clean and tidy, organise cakes for birthdays. And it's just kind of expected that women will just get on and do that. They're all fantastic in the day jobs, but they are the people that really are the oil in the machinery that makes the organisation function effectively. But they don't necessarily get any appreciation for that. Now, awards normally recognise outstanding performance in the job, but not the other things that a person does to make the business a success. And when I did a lot of research for my, you know, ongoing, but particularly you'll find it in the book, there are terms that that studies use about this extra work that is absolutely essential for businesses to perform well, and they call them non-promotable tasks, because although they are essential for employee morale and motivation and for customer experience and customer success, they very rarely are recognised in promotions or in appraisals as being something that is actually something that will get you a promotion. So what I also found is that in organisations in general, women are allocated more of these non-promotable tasks than men, in quite a big significant difference. And so they are doing things beyond the day job. They don't get extra reward for it. They're absolutely necessary for the business to perform. But the same studies also argue that this could be a reason why women are not progressing as much as men, because men will tend to focus on the day job and delivering results that are the ones that are recognised to get them a promotion. So I would, of course, first of all, urge you to look at the non-promotable tasks in your organisation and see if they can be allocated more equally to start with, or at least look at those and the skills that have been involved and try and make them promotable tasks. But in the meantime, let's recognise and appreciate the women that are doing all these amazing things that keep our show on the road, shall we say, and they're doing all this great stuff for the business, for their colleagues and the sector as a whole. So my next point to make is this is not just about the winners. We celebrate 31 winners. We have 30 Inspiring Automotive Women. We have 1 overall Woman of the Year. And when we feel that there are people that need to be recognised for specific reasons, we give them a special recognition award. We don't have the special recognition awards defined in advance every year. We just look at the pool of people that we're choosing from in those winners, and we think, actually, this person really stands out because, and we create an award around what's so special about that person. So that could be different each year. But what it's also about is not just about those 31 winners and those special recognition award winners. It's about every woman that's nominated, because any person that's been nominated has actually inspired someone enough to put them forward. And that really is what, as businesses, you should be most interested in. There could be a whole sea of women that are really valued and recognised by their peers and appreciated. And it would be really nice to know about that and to celebrate it and appreciate it. So on that note, I'm going to ask Claire Wright, who is from Jardine Motor Group and is our sponsor of the awards, to just say a few words about why you think the Inspiring Automotive Women Awards are something that we should support, but also the impact that it's had within Jardine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to build on some of the things you've already said, Julia, I mean, we originally engaged in this on the very first time you approached us about wanting to sponsor on the first awards, really, because I think there was a huge gap in terms of how you showcase successful females in motor, across the different dimensions of motor. And I think what it has definitely given is a real focus, both internally and externally, to, as you say, shine the spotlight on real talent in all businesses across automotive, and also for those people that perhaps might not normally get recognised. So those real enablers that help businesses be really successful. And it might not be about being in a senior position, but actually enable those key people that are big supporters that make the business successful are actually probably the most important people to us all. So that's definitely one of the reasons why we chose to continue to be a sponsor, because I think there's no other awards out there, and I'm not being critical of any other sort of female celebration awards, but I think what you've set up is something a bit different and is very, very objective. And I'm sure you'll come on to it when you talk about the entries. But when you look at the winners, you can see real tangibles, not just anecdotal evidence of how people have made a difference. And I think that's the key differentiator and why we choose to continue to support. But certainly from a benefit point of view, internally, likewise, like Marshall have done, we've celebrated our nominees and our winners in multiple ways. So for International Women's Day, our nominees and winners sat on a panel and have shared their stories since in subsequent post IWD activity. But equally, some of the ladies that won and were recognised early on have actually progressed as well, even further in the business, either increased their scopes or have actually been promoted. And equally, we've had colleagues, unfortunately, that have left the business, but they've been recognised as externally as for one of these awards where we've not been able to have a vacancy to promote them into. But it really has also helped truly lift people into new positions as well. So we've seen it as a really good platform to help talent in the businesses as well. And the social you get on the back of it in terms of that external perspective. Certainly when I posted the post from the most recent awards, I think I probably had my highest, about 20,000 views. So in terms of getting that reach out there about changing the perception of automotive, if we all did that and got that, then actually it just helps us, as I say, start changing the game even further.
Thanks very much, Claire. So I'm just going to move on to Sharon to say what the impact or benefit was to Trustford for having quite a handful of winners, including yourself.
Thank you, Julia. Do you know what? It created a real buzz around the organisation. I mean, it was great to have 3 winners, which was fantastic. But it was when we got people to get and see who had nominated them, which was quite surprising. And what again was great, some of the nominations were from, well, a lot of them were from the men in the organisation, not the women. And I think that was quite impactful for a woman to be nominated by a guy for an Inspiring Woman Award. So that did create a lot of a buzz. And also it was interesting that some of the women were saying, oh, I never thought he would have nominated me. And for them to read what people had actually put down around what the females did was just so impactful, and sharing that. And we did a lot more in terms of pushing people to nominate on internal comms, encouraging people, giving them help around thinking around, I know you're going to come on to Julia, thinking around, what does someone need to do for you to think around nominating them as inspiring women? But I think that's really created some real good self-advocacy around the business. And I think it also encouraged, and we'll see this year, people to think, yeah, do you know what, I will nominate those. I did have to do some nudges with some people, and, you know, you've just said they've done a great job. Have you thought of nominating them? Oh no. So I think it's just some of those things that you said, Julia, in calling out, because it does create a great buzz. And I know you're going to come on to it, but just while you've been talking there, Julia, in our locations, a lot of our general managers have what's called a dealership secretary. You know, like this, behind every successful man. Yeah. Well, the dealership secretaries, to be fair, as I'm thinking, I've just messaged Tom, are the ones who do all the pastoral stuff, all the, like you've just said, making sure that when it is somebody's long service, that they set up the meeting, they get everybody out of the workshop, they pass the certificate to the general man, they make things happen. Really, all the engagement piece, as well as, you know, going out and getting the lunch, all that stuff. That means the GM can run a successful business, but actually, if it wasn't for all that stuff, it wouldn't be a successful business. So I think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to be, you know, climb the ladder, and we've got a lot of those in our organisation, but to be recognised, the really good job that they're doing, Julia.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Sharon. And Joe, I know that that you were very proud of the people that have been nominated in Marshall's. There were a lot of them. I hope to see just as many this time. And I think Dax made a personal letter or something to them all.
Yeah, we did. Oh, typical. My cat now joins into the banging and knocking, so excuse me if you hear a few meows as well. Yeah, as always, Dash was on the front foot in terms of PR. I think it's fair to say across the business. So he a lot of what Sharon has said is echoed really in Marshall. Dash wrote to every nominee individually. And thanked them for it, and there was a buzz around the business and a huge celebration. What we do now is that the awards ceremony is included in the induction. So our females that were nominated now feature in our induction video. So from the get-go, people joining our business know that this is really important. Which is significant. But just one story to share with you, because I think I'm going to end up repeating a lot of what Sharon said. We still have a physical magazine that we send out, and we've kept saying to people, do you want this electronically or physically? And overwhelmingly it's still physically, and I've been pushing at this to get it electronically, but we've resisted it, and I got the reason why. When it looked at the section that we did on inspirational women, one of the little girls from the technician said, oh look Daddy, you have girls in cars at your works too. And it was one of those, he shared the story with me, and it was one of those profound moments of going, right, okay, she was able to touch, feel, see the magazine, but see these women that were inspiring, and at a 5-year-old she'd not thought that women have something to do with, or girls in her world have something to do with cars. So it was great. It was one of those moments that you want to treasure really. But yes, we are we're very loud about the awards at Marshall, very, very proud to be part of it as well.
Great, thanks Joe. And I have heard that Total couldn't make it on the call today, but they held an afternoon tea for all of their nominated women, and the new president of Toyota joined them for that and congratulated them on that. So we would encourage more of that, you know, that it doesn't matter who ended up being a winner. It's in your group. If somebody's nominated them, then that's something that's a significant occasion to mark, really. And I am not actually, because I can see Lee is there, I'm going to jump and just ask you, because you were so entertaining in your video, your acceptance video, to just explain how it feels to be a winner.
Do you know what? It is, I think I've been around the automotive industry for a long time, and the transportation industry, and it's great to see these awards. really, like you said, celebrate women, and it's fun. You know, it's nice to be nominated by colleagues, and you know, the colleague that nominated me kept it secret for the whole time, and we had a bit of a joke with it, and then to hear other women in the organization really talk about it and the support that it brings, and you know, to each other, and I think the recognition that people realize that, you know, what I am doing makes a difference, because sometimes it's just, you know, I'm going to lead this inclusion initiative, but do people really appreciate it? And just to see that recognition was super important. And it was fun. It was a fun night, a fun event. And it really felt like some of that, you know, a reward for some of the hard work that we put in.
Great, thanks, Lee, thanks. So I'm now going to move on. Thank you for all that contribution. About looking at, so what makes an inspiring automotive woman? How do we actually judge that? How do we define that? Well, we try to make it, as Claire said, as objective as possible. So the judging process is really, really objective. And the judges are given a scoring criteria. It's, you know, it's very clear KPIs that lead to those scores. But so the first thing that we do, you know, what you have to do is you go on the website, and the nomination form is on the website, and on that nomination form there are actually 4 parts that you have to complete if you're a nominator. The first one is the response to a statement that says, "She has inspired me because she has made a valuable contribution to the success of the business." And you get up to 100 words to give a response. Now, that question is there because these women also need to be doing a good job in the day job. You know, they need to be someone that is actually performing well, and that isn't somebody that might be, shall we say, going to get a poor performance appraisal at the end of the year. You know, this is the kind of the part of the section of the award nomination that makes it clear that yes, this person performs very well in their day job. And what we ask for is hard evidence, facts. Put it in a bullet point manner if it's easier to put it like that. Data, numbers, statistics, anything that's evaluated, or, you know, it's hard evidence. The second statement is, "She has inspired me to progress or develop my own skills." And then we actually added another part to that question, thinking, well, maybe if you're the president of the company and you're nominating somebody, that might not really be something you could say about something a lot lower down in the organization, about them inspiring you to develop your own skills. So we then added on to that something that the leaders of the business could answer, which is, or, "So she has inspired me to aim for a better gender balance and to lead an inclusive culture." So what that's really doing is tapping into those women who are inspiring their bosses to be inclusive. So we've had to kind of make that statement catch all types of nominators. And again, we're looking for evidence, facts, not statements such as, "She's such a wonderful woman, she's so inspiring." You know, it has to be, well, specifically, why is this woman somebody that inspires you? The third statement is that "She has inspired me by participating in activities that aim for a greater gender balance or by encouraging women to join or progress in the industry." So this is a question that's trying to get to the bottom of, does this woman actually do stuff to help other women join the sector, progress in the sector? You know, what is she doing for other women? So the first one, you know, just to recap, the first one is about how is she performing in the job? The second one is, has she inspired the nominator to improve? And the third one is, what action is she actually doing to inspire other women? So you can see how it's trying to kind of cover all angles in what we believe is an inspiring automotive woman is somebody that does all those three things. And as we found, there are lots of women that do. So it's really fabulous to hear about the stuff that they do. In the packs that you've been sent and on the website as well, we go into a lot more detail in terms of all the types of things that could be examples of that. So do take a look at that, and it will kind of give you some ideas as to what good looks like. So the important thing, as I've stressed a lot, is that there have to be facts about what the woman is doing. You know, what does she do? It's not so much about what is she like. You know, of course, lots of women in our industry are very nice and, you know, lovely ladies, and we do get a few nominations that basically just focus on that and how smiley they are. But it's not about that. It's about what does the woman do. Now, in the final part, there is more of a free writing piece, which is a new piece that we've added on from last year. Last year, it took the form of a question that said, in order to help us promote this out and to explain a little bit more on social media or in the awards booklet, do you want to give a quote that would be helpful to summarize why this woman is inspiring? And we found that those, and it was optional last year, we found that those that filled that in said some amazing things about these women that were so nice to hear, and, you know, so motivating it would, you know, for the woman to hear it, that we felt that we're going to just make that part of the process from now on. So this is not tied to any of the other three criteria. This is the person being able to unleash, if you like, unfettered why that woman has inspired them. And I just know that will probably end up being used as the kind of tiebreaker when we're looking at who will come into the top 30 women. It's usually the ones that have scored very, very highly across all three categories. And then it will be, so who has actually made such a wonderful impression in that final statement that the nominator gives. So that's what makes an inspiring automotive woman. I'm just now going to briefly run through what the key dates are. But again, this is in all the packs. But I'm pleased to say that the nominations will open on April the 6th, so straight after the Easter bank holiday. And we will do some social media promotions around that. They will close on June the 25th. So there's actually quite a lot of time. But, you know, these things get in the way, work gets in the way, you know, but so we know that we will tend to find a big flurry coming in the last week. What I would say is, if you are wanting to help your staff to create, if you like, better standard of nominations, which I would encourage you to do, because sometimes it's not, you know, sometimes somebody's ability to articulate or their levels of literacy might not be as strong as others, yet the intention is there and the facts are there, but they haven't really been able to express it very well. If you want to be able to help your staff to do that, and please don't wait till the last day to send in a batch that you have kind of held back until you've checked if the spelling is right and stuff. Because that will just overload us if we do that. So please, you know, drip feed them through to us if you're planning to do that. And you know, I have to say, I know that happens, and things like spelling and grammar isn't an issue to us. We overlook that, but I do take it on board that sometimes, you know, when you're looking at it afresh, you can probably help them express it a little bit better sometimes than maybe they have themselves. So they will close on the 25th of June, the nominations. We will then notify you shortly afterwards who has been nominated from your company before they go forward to the judges. And this is really, we did have a scenario once where there was somebody that was nominated that in fact the company did not feel was a proper ambassador for their company because of something, an incident that had occurred. And therefore, it would, you know, it would have been hugely embarrassing to that company had that person become a winner. So we've decided to avoid any of that scenario happening. And so we will notify you who has been nominated, and you will have a chance to get back to us very quickly, hopefully, if you have an issue with any of the people being nominated. But you know, we would ask for a robust reason for that. And that we did have that option last year, and nobody raised that there was an issue with any of the nominators. So hopefully it is just a one-off occasion, but we felt it prudent to build it into the process. We will hold a judging day on July the 14th. We have most of our judges on board now. They're the same judges as last year, so they're all very experienced in how to do the process. We've just got a couple that are having to check any conflict of interest situations with their mothership company. But it wasn't last time, but they have to process that, they have to go through to do that. And so we will decide on that day on the 31 winners and whether any of them are winners of special recognition awards. And so we will be able to notify you quite soon afterwards. So probably by Monday the 19th, we will notify the companies first and then the winners that they've won, that they're a winner. But it will be under a strict embargo at that stage, that nobody can tell the secret. But we are aiming for an awards event in October, date to be determined, and format to be determined. We will have to probably make that decision in July before we tell you about the winners as to what's happening with the awards event, based on whatever is happening in the world at that time as to whether we're allowed to have events. But any information that you would have that could help us with that. So for example, if you know that your company has said nobody is allowed to go to external events till 2022, it would be useful for us to know that, you know, if there are internal policies that might prevent people attending a physical award ceremony, never mind what the government is allowing at the time. So that's really just a very quick overview of the dates and the key points to note. I will make one other point about the profile of nominators that's just occurred to me. And it was as a result of some of the feedback from the judges last year. So obviously, some of the criteria that we look at lends itself to people who work in HR. And so what the judges were very careful to look at was, is this HR person doing something that's beyond what you would expect of an HR person? So for example, if an HR person's job is to run the female apprentice network and it's their job to do it, they probably wouldn't get high marks for the fact that they were inspiring because they ran a female apprentice network. Whereas a technician running a female apprentice network would. Do you see what I mean? So just be mindful that when you are talking to your staff about nominating people in HR, they've really got to explain why they are going over and above, why they are game changers, why they're looking at things differently or being innovative, or, you know, doing more than is in their job description. Okay, and there's a similar thing with regards to some people have dedicated marketing or PR on diversity and inclusion, and there could be a similar issue there, that if that's that person's job to do all the International Women's Day events, then to nominate them on the basis that they did all of that is not necessarily going to fly with the judges. So that person's going to have to show something else that would show why they're inspiring. So I think I've covered most of the things that I wanted to cover. So I'm going to just hand over to Nicola now, who is going to just share with you what we would like to do in terms of promoting the awards internally, and also helping us promote it externally.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, so in terms of external promotion, obviously we will launch across social media and on our website the awards on the 6th of April, and we have a full agenda of posts that we plan to distribute, to broadcast on all our social media platforms, all the way up to the nominations closing date. And in total there'll be about 15 posts, and they will be a mixture of static posts with the questions highlighted, encouraging messages for people to nominate, and there'll also be some video messages from our sponsor, some of the award winners from last year, just talking about the importance of being nominated and also winning one of the awards in 2020. Now, we will send out a plan that I'd like to send out to your PR marketing departments. So what I will do after this meeting is, for some of the businesses, we know who the contact is in the marketing department, who to send this information out to. For some of you, we don't have that information, and I think to stop me pestering you, it would be quite good if you could supply me with the best contact details for that person. Now, in terms of the social media activity online, it's quite easy how to join in. It's about sharing, liking and commenting on our posts. Whilst, for example, on LinkedIn, we have over 5,000 contacts, we know that your individual businesses have even more contacts than that. And it's about spreading the message to as many people as we can. So by you sharing that and actually including a message of your excitement about the awards, about your involvement in the awards, that'll just help us to get that message further. I think for yourselves, what's also important is that on a lot of your platforms, you are linked to customers as well. So actually it's a good message to share within your customer community that you're taking part in these awards as well. When sharing, it might also be a good idea if you can link relevant people to the post, perhaps people with influence in the business. You know, I know that there's one lady who works for a retailer who has got 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. So to me, she's a good influencer to share these types of communications. So it's really straightforward. We're not asking you to post anything yourself, just, you know, share, like, comment the post that we put on our social media channel, and just help to spread the message. Now, internally, obviously, you've all got very different internal channels, but what we do know, and we've seen it recently, is that by sending out specific communications across the business, that actually you can generate interest. And I hope Trust Ford don't mind me mentioning this, but they did this when we did the competition for more subscribers to the Inspiring e-zine, and Tom did a communication out to everybody, and actually within one day we had 30 Trust Ford people subscribe to the e-zine. So I just think it does show, I think that it can work. I think going back to Julia's point about how to answer the questions, that's probably the most important message that you can communicate internally, is how to fill in a good nomination form. But you've got the members kit, you've got the nominators guide. Please, you know, please do share those internally as well. And I'm just here if you ever need some help, support, advice of what, if there's anything more that you can be doing to promote them. You've all got my email number and my phone number. Yeah, and I'm here to help you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, thanks, Nicola. So yeah, let's make a lot of noise about the fact that we're doing these awards and try and make the point of why they're slightly different to maybe other awards. I was just reflecting on, just to clarify the point that I think Sharon picked up on as well about these non-promotable tasks. I think, well, where would you reflect that? Well, you'd reflect that in the first statement, which is about, she's inspired me because she's made a valuable contribution to the business. You know, what we've seen is, yes, of course, somebody that's a managing director or a sales director can point to huge sales performance and things, but maybe a showroom host or a dealership secretary hasn't got that kind of data. But that's where this, you know, if you want thinking where would it go, it would go in there in that first statement. So I think at this point we can just open it up to any questions and hear what you have, if you have anything that you wanted to share with us or ask about. You might have to raise a hand, I think, at this stage. Elaine, are you?
No, I just think if you want to ask a question or say anything, just unmute and speak.
Yeah. Hi, Elaine.
Hi. No, I didn't have a question. I was just, I'm looking forward to sharing it within the business. We've had a significant amount of interest since the book launch, Julia. So I think this year, hopefully we'll get some nominations from Virtue, which would be great.
It would be great because, yes, we haven't really had that many from Virtue in the past and we've wondered why. But I think it's a, you know, everyone's busy and it's whether it appears on their radar, isn't it? So hence the reason for this call today, really.
We've also just launched Evolution within the sales department. So, you know, we've been doing that in service and we've been able to bring a lot of young women through that way, but we're doing that within sales now as well. So
great, great. Any other points? I suppose one point that I should mention is how we do get far more nominations from retailers than we do the manufacturers and the suppliers, and notably far more men joining in from the retailers than specifically the manufacturers. You know, that it's something that I've noticed is that when we get nominations through from manufacturing companies, the OEM, should I say, because it's, of course, we're mainly the commercial functions in the club. It's been women nominating other women. And I do think that that would be an interesting thing to explore for those on the call that are from the OEMs, as to say, you know, are they not aware of it? You know, has it not landed on their radar as such that this is existing, or is there some kind of issue there that's preventing the men in the OEMs putting forward women as being inspiring? So yeah, absolutely, there is this thing. So I'd be interested in any feedback that you might have it after the call as to why that might be, or what we can do to try and address that.
Just a quick one from me, Julia, please. It was really about the mix of nominations of like kind of sort of grades of people that you get, and because it tends to be kind of dominated by sort of senior managerial sort of people. You mentioned that there's going to be, I mean, last year I think there was a bit of a focus on trying to get kind of people at different levels of businesses involved in the awards. Do you have any kind of idea of how that kind of manifested itself in nominations across the piece last year?
Actually, it was very broad. So although and really the winners were pretty broad as well. It's right that there tended to be more. There was quite a few senior people, not obviously as there are in other awards. But the issue is that people weren't necessarily providing the data, the evidence that would back up in terms of the quality of the nomination. So as I said, sometimes it's easy when you're a sales director or something for somebody to provide public data that backs up that person's performance. So it's more about, well, what specific examples can that person give as to why somebody that is a receptionist or a sales executive or a showroom host or a graduate, you know, entry-level role deserves to be called inspiring. It doesn't need to be, you know, they met this percentage objective, although of course that's nice to hear. It just needs to be a specific example and not a kind of vague, oh, they're wonderful, we all like them, you know, puts a smile on our face every time we come in through the door, which we do get those kind of nominations about people that are more junior. So, any other questions? Can't see. I can only see half the screen at a time, so I'm just checking that that there's nobody waving at me. Yeah. Okay, well, great. Well, there we are. We've under-promised and over-delivered by finishing 10 minutes early. So, but clearly, if you do have any more questions that leap out at you after this, do get in touch. Obviously, with Nicola, not me, to answer all the questions. I hope that I've managed to communicate that you know, it's not just about the winning. It's a bit cheesy, and it's the taking part. It's the nominating that is the most important thing. And you know, clearly, we're not expecting you to try and get people to nominate people that don't deserve these awards. It's about uncovering that there are so many women out there that do deserve to be nominated, and celebrating that and giving them this recognition for their contribution to the business. So has anybody got anything else that they want to add? Not a question, but maybe a supportive comment or anything, observation?
Julie, I would say that I think if we could a little bit focus on men nominating the women, because they're very good at nominating themselves, these men, but sometimes women aren't very good at nominating other women as well, because a little bit, you know, it's a bit like the imposter syndrome, and it's like, I'm just doing my job. And so maybe that would be, I know we'll take it offline, Tom, but I think that might be something we try to go down.
Sharon, I love that. I love that you said that. And I work for a CEO in tech, right? So we're very keen to work with you guys because our main customer base is in automotive, starting with OEM, but also now at the dealership level. And Anne is one of the only females in tech, which is why we feel passionately that we want to bond to this initiative. And then there's that fine balance, right, Sharon, where you it can be disingenuous or inauthentic in a moment like this, where there is a minority voice, not a minority people's, in whatever we deal with. And I'm the marketing guy here, and I've often strike that balance with her. Let's take the idea, if you remember on Black Lives Matter, everyone felt that if they don't say something, they should do it. And if you do, how do you do it? And when you get into a contentious moment like this, it's got to come from an authentic approach and a place. And so when Anne says, I want us to do this, and we move through things like International Women's Day, it's a balancing act. We don't want to put the 8 front of house women on the website sometimes, because yes, we still have an imbalance in our company, but we're led by a female. And so I think what's interesting there is the voice and the context of it, because it's not that there's always equality of opinion and thought. And I just thought, I'd like to say I love the initiative. I'm trying to find a way through to support this further from an initiative perspective, but it is led from the top. And just by the way, Anne doesn't organize or run our company in a masculine way. She runs it in a feminine way. And there are many men that report into her, and we don't see the difference between man and woman. It just so happens that we recognize the initiative is important to not highlight females or males. And I love your phrase, these guys, because it's true. But the moment is, how do we make sure that from my perspective, how do I make sure when I do the social media, when we do the sharing, it is meant with positive trajectory and momentum that really highlights the power and direction, maybe not the current situation, but why it's useful and what we can get from that. And I haven't fixed that idea in my head, but just so you guys know, as a sort of someone that's helping to sponsor the process, I'm thinking about that a lot, and if I come up with any thoughts or questions, I will definitely share that with this community to make sure it's represented well, even though I'm one of these guys. So I just want to give some context from our perspective as well, as a sponsor, and how to frame it, right?
Okay, well, thanks for that. I think that one of the key messages that we can promote about the awards, from a marketing perspective, is these are awards that a person says they are personally inspired by a woman. And what we know is that in society in general, people tend to shy away from saying a woman has inspired them. They'll might say a politician or a football manager or whatever has inspired them, but they won't necessarily say that a woman has. And so, yeah, the point that Sharon made about trying to really to encourage men to find women inspiring, I think is a really good message. Particularly, I know that some of the leaders that are in the business, that are members of this, talk to me about women that they worked for fantastic women managers in their time, and that those women inspired them in some occasions far more than the male managers that they worked for. So that's why they completely get this, and they're so behind it, and they're so into gender balance. And I think that's something that it would be great if we could get more people to see it like that. This is not like a corporate awards, where HR has decided to put this person forward for this award. This isn't that. This is heartfelt. This woman has inspired me, and that is really what captures what the difference is in these awards, and what the power is, I think, which is why they're so motivating to hear who's been nominated.
Inspiration is very powerful. It's not brand oriented, it's personal, it's real. It's yeah. And
I think there is an element that you could be the danger of running into cheesiness with the word inspiring. I think it seems to be the word of the moment, doesn't it? So it's about being very careful about saying, these truly are inspiring women. We're not just saying they're women and therefore they're inspiring. It is these women. Look at all this evidence. Look how they've inspired other people.
Lovely.
Okay, well, I think unless anyone's got anything else to add.
The only thing just from me, Julia, apologies, my sound dipped out, so if this has been asked before, really sorry, as many questions coming in. Just from my point of view, I send out weekly updates to our staff every week and try and get that community going with everyone. Just if any content that we can help me to kind of get this across visually whilst I'm talking, because unfortunately no one wants to see my face whilst I'm talking to everyone. So just any content that I can add into that video content to kind of put across would be great. And obviously stuff we can share socially to add with what we've already got from you guys would be just fantastic to kind of share with our team. Would be awesome, so we can get everyone involved.
Yeah, great. And I think what would be really useful for that, other than obviously communicating how to fill in the form, is maybe sharing a little bit about who won last year.
Yeah.
So that your people can see the type of profile of the winners, and also see how many inspiring women there are out there. So maybe the awards booklet, Nicola, could be something that we can signpost Michael to from last year.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, guys. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks.
Great. Well, I think we'll leave it there. So thanks so much for everyone for joining. We did a big push, as you know, but I do think that we've got the opportunity now with technology to get everyone literally in the room and try to explain it to everyone at the same time. And we haven't really been able to we couldn't have done that last year. Nobody knew how to do this. So we're going to do more of this kind of thing, and hopefully be able to really express what's behind the things that we do, and get more involvement and engagement. So thanks very much, and see you again soon.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Julia. Bye, everyone.
Bye.